don't subscribe to the ideology that healing has to be lonely, and I don't think that you should either, because I think that it's fear-mongering. I think that there is some truth to the fact that you might lose friends, partners, jobs, whatever. However, I don't think that it has to be lonely, and I would even argue that true healing starts when you start rebuilding the stuff that you did lose whenever you did start working through your triggers and traumas. And so I'll tell you my personal experience, and maybe you'll be able to relate to that or not, whatever. But what happened is I experienced a lot of chaos, trauma, all the stuffs whenever I was younger. And then eventually I got to a point where I was like, well, I've not been great to myself. I've not been great to other people. Other people have not been great to me. I should really start healing so that my life isn't like this. Not blaming myself, but also taking accountability, because some of that was definitely my fault. Balance, both things can be true. Anyway, so I start going on this healing journey. I'm going to therapy, support groups, doing all the things. But then I almost start, I become like a gym bro of like, do you even therapy, dude? And it kind of comes off as pretentious. I don't think people realize that. And I think honestly, a lot of that is why it starts to become isolating, because we become so involved in our own healing that we become unrelatable to other people. And when I say unrelatable, I don't mean like, oh, you should make yourself smaller and act like you're somebody else so other people will relate to you, or do things that are unhealthy, or surround yourself with people who you're incompatible with. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is a lot of the times when a lot of people, including myself, go into therapy or self-help, self-improvement, it's like we start collecting it like badges. I've been to therapy, I've been to support groups, I've been to 12-step, I've been to the gym, I've done spiritual journeys and guidance and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, cool, that's awesome. But also a big part of healing is recognizing that not everybody's idea of healing is the same as yours. And maybe your idea of healing isn't actual healing, but it's perfectionism and capitalism. Because when we start to dehumanize ourselves and say, oh, I need to be perfect, I need to be making sure that I'm doing all the things to heal and whatever, that's actually just re-traumatizing yourself and being a perfectionist. And you might be projecting that onto other people, which is obviously going to make people not want to be around you as often, because they're not going to feel safe being themselves and being a human who makes mistakes and has flaws. And for me, I realized that people don't always want to be around somebody who's constantly talking about psychology and self-improvement. And don't get me wrong, that's a special interest of mine, and I think it's important to be around people who recognize that about you. But I also think that my special interest in healing and self-help and therapy and all that was also a coping mechanism. So anyway, once I started to recognize that constantly doing things to heal and improve and not actually process that stuff and give myself space to like actually live and allow myself to make mistakes and allow myself to have aspects of myself that, are human, and actually allow myself the grace of knowing that I'm not always going to be a good human all the time. And that's a part of you that you have to accept. Like, some people call that shadow work, whatever you want to call it, but that's just part of it. I love my cats, but sometimes they accidentally scratch me. I don't hate them because of that. Now, obviously, if they were attacking me every day, I'd be like, somebody come take this cat. But I digress. So once I started doing like parts work and integrating the different aspects of myself, learning to appreciate myself, rehumanizing others, and starting to change my disempowering beliefs about myself, the world, and other people, and start to be like, you know what? I actually want community. I think that that's good because it is a human need. It is a physiological need to want to be around other people. People are pack animals. I know that sounds weird because it's like, oh, well, I'm not an animal. Guess what? You are. You just got these cool little thumbs. You still have feelings, emotions, thoughts. Sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes you're not perfect. And that's the same for everybody else. And then when you start to see that, you can also recognize that other people have different perspectives of life. And you don't have to project your perspective onto other people and hope that they fit in that box. Because again, that is just projecting your own trauma and your own perspective on them, not respecting their own individuality and their own experience. Again, there is such a thing as recognizing that even though somebody does have their own experience and their own perspectives, that might not be compatible with you, which doesn't mean you have to go around being like, I love every single person and I need to get along with everybody. That is not what I'm saying. I think it's a good rule of thumb to like not try to intentionally be mean to people, but like, hey, if you need to avoid certain people, I'm all for it. But I do think that if you start to humanize yourself and other people, you would start to really like shock yourself with the amount of people that you would be able to be friends with, and or at least be cordial with, because you're actually going to be able to hear their side. You're going to be able to even appreciate their lifestyle and appreciate the differences. And that's how we start expanding our mindset and really start appreciating the world and seeing how different cultures and communities and mindsets and ideas can come together and like be like a cute little buffet. Just like people who have issues with textures, you don't have to let that food touch the other food on the plate. You can have all of it on the same plate and still go, despite the fact that all these different ideas or religions or ideologies or whatever are on this same plate, I don't have to eat all of them and not all of them have to touch. Yes, I also like a visualization. Yes, I don't think that healing means that you have to be isolated and your whole life's going to be terrible and it's lonely at the top. But I do think there is a time period where it might be necessary for you to put a little bit of space between you and other people so that you can start to get your own autonomy back and start to realize who you are outside of other people, and also start to appreciate having your own space and being able to make a safe space for yourself and be able to nurture yourself and understand your emotions and all that. So yeah, during that time, it might feel lonely, but it's more like growing pains and just shedding some skin. But I don't think that that has to be forever. Maybe at the end of that time of you giving yourself space between other people, maybe there are going to be jobs or hobbies or people or things that you don't participate being around or being in or whatever. But I don't think that that means that you have to just quit on hobbies or people or whatever in general. Yeah, tread lightly if you need to at first. I understand. Like, it's really hard to overcome conditioning and trauma. That makes sense. Don't judge yourself. Give yourself grace. But also know that it is possible that as you work your way through these traumas and understanding yourself and all that, it is possible to start expanding your community, getting hobbies that you enjoy, whatever it might be. So anyway, if you were starting to feel lonely or scared to start healing yourself or continue healing yourself, or you're like, oh my gosh, I guess it's just going to be like this the rest of my life. It doesn't. A lot of that's just fear mongering and people trying to get you to like buy stuff. And, you know, a lot of it is also like a superiority complex and it feeds into individualism. And honestly, we all need community. So we should really, you know, try our best to start working towards that at our own pace, at a pace that feels safe to us. Yeah. So anyway, I hope that helps at least one person. My name's Sarah. I'm your favorite self-experimenting coach or companion, and I help get people reacquainted with who they most authentically are. You're an amazing person, and I hope you have the best day.